Hello there, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is ChitChad and welcome back to another episode of Planet Coaster, where we are working on the studio theme park. Today we're going to continue working in the Power Rangers area of the park as we build a Zord from the series, which is going to be the Pink Ranger's Pterodactyl Zord, which will also be used as kind of a focal point for the Pink Ranger Pterodactyl flat ride that we'll be putting in this area of the park as well. Before we get too far into today's episode, I just wanted to apologize for being away for so long. It's been about a month since I've been able to upload anything, and I definitely didn't intend for that to happen. Just life always finds a way to make things interesting. So the past month I have been working longer hours, overtime, I've been working weekends, I've been working freelance just to try and get a little bit ahead on some expenses. And our house has been giving us some issues. Actually, last weekend, our AC went out, which for those of you that don't know about Arizona, we're a state in the United States that is constantly facing heat death from the sun. And it was about 110 plus when our AC went out, which turned our nice 78 degrees inside to a piping 95 degrees, which for, Allie and myself is uncomfortable, but for our pets, it's dangerous, especially Miko, my chinchilla. They can't get that warm. So we immediately had to find a place to take our rabbit and our chinchilla. And one of our family members was nice enough to let them stay in their air-conditioned home, which was great. And then Fox, our dog, was actually able to stay at, we have like a puppy daycare that we take him to every once in a while. So he was actually able to go there while we were figuring out the problem. And it was a big whole thing that we had to go through our home insurance about, and not fun. Took a couple of days, so that kind of destroyed that last weekend of productivity. So I'm finally back making content. I'm happy to be back. It's nice to get behind the microphone, record some Planet Coaster, because this is kind of my Zen mode. And a lot of things have happened since we've done episodes. A lot of things I've been wanting to talk about, but haven't had the chance to talk about. Two things in particular that I'm super excited for and cannot wait to experience myself is Disneyland opening up Galaxy's Edge, and Universal Studios literally, I think as of recording this episode, yesterday did soft openings for the Jurassic World relaunch of the Jurassic World or Jurassic Park River Adventure ride, which, if you've been listening to me on this channel, I've been kind of obsessed about since they started that project. So to finally see POVs of that experience has been jaw-dropping. For the most part, I will say for the most part, there was a couple of things I was like, but for the most part, I was like, that's pretty cool. So I've been wanting to talk about that kind of stuff because again, even though we're building something on Planet Coaster, I love talking about amusement parks and theming and animatronics and like the art and design that goes into these things in general, because I just find that stuff absolutely fascinating. So sit back and relax as we start building this Pterodactyl Zord, which again, I based off of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Pterodactyl Zord, the original series. And it's going to look similar to kind of how the toy was made, how the model actually looks in the series. It's funny that it's the Pink Ranger Zord, but it has almost absolutely no pink on the Zord itself because it acts as the chest piece of the Megazord. So I literally had the piece, like the toy in my hand. I was like looking at it. I was like, how the heck am I going to build this thing? So hopefully you all like how it turns out. We do, I think, finish the entirety of it in this episode. So you'll see it from start to finish. And this was a little bit different than some of the pieces that we've made with the geometric objects before. Most of the time I'm making like really cartoonish characters. This is the first time I think I've made something that's this large and is more of a mechanical configuration. So it was easier and more difficult at the same time because with the organic stuff, I feel like you can get away with a little bit more because they're organic and they can be in a different pose that kind of help hide certain things that you might not be able to make as easily with geometric objects. But with a mechanical thing, like almost everything has to look like it belongs somewhere unless you're kind of going with a Michael Bay Transformer look where there's just pipes and gadgets just coming out of every which way. And I didn't want to really do that because, again, I was looking at a very simplistic toy, but I also didn't want to follow the toy to a T because of its simplicity. I wanted this to look like a blend of the two, like something that could exist in our world but still maintain the relative shape and style of the original, Japanese footage. So hopefully we found a good blend of the two. And you'll see, like I said, you'll see the whole build process. So while we're building that, I want to talk a little bit about, what should we talk about first? Galaxy's Edge or Jurassic World? I'm going to go with Jurassic World first because I literally watched POVs of that ride over and over and over again since it's come out. And it is very cool to see. It's been a very long refurbishment process. They brought back some of the original, or I guess probably not the original animatronics, either new animatronics based off the original ones or just reskinned versions of it, especially the Stegosaurus. But they brought in a new scene that was screen based, which is the Mosasaurus, and it's a very cool scene. It does feel a little bit out of place when you see it, and if you look online, you'll find videos and photos of it, I'm sure. But it's a very cool scene, but it does feel a little bit out of place just because these gates open up that reveal the entire length of the aquarium, but there's no gates at the end of it that kind of make you feel like this is a contained scene. And because you can kind of see the exterior, it makes it feel like there's no way the aquarium could exist in the world that you're in, that it stretches in the screen. It looks like it stretches further past than what the actual outside would allow it to. So it's a bit of a disconnect because you do see the character, the Mosasaurus itself, like go through that section as if there's something there. But when you get out into the next sequence, which is going through the caves, and you look to your left, there's no way that space like would exist physically. And they probably could have gotten away with that a bit more if they had a gate in front of it. So as you go through, you'll see a couple of familiar faces that were in the original ride, and then it gets kind of bland for a bit as you go through the Indominus Rexes and the Raptor Pen. There's nothing really to look at other than the environment itself, and then you go up the ramp, which most of the Raptors were removed from this section, replaced with screens of Chris Pratt's character Owen, basically warning you that, oh, there's a containment breach, assets are out of containment, blah, blah, blah. And then a raptor pops out of the ceiling and it bites down on some power cables, which is actually a really cool moment because it's tied not only to the lights going out, which then you face a drop, but it also swells with the music. Like the music is perfectly timed with this moment. And then you enter, which is the most impressive part of this whole new re-envisioning of the ride, is that the whole containment building, the interior has been replaced from being nothing but like industrial objects, mechanisms, and pipes to a completely new lush environment with trees and overhanging vines and branches that connect over top of you. And there's a bunch of different animatronics in here. You have some Dilophosaurus, which are spitting at you. You also have a new blue animatronic that appears to be walking, which is really cool. I couldn't quite tell like how far it moves, but it does appear to walk, which is really cool. And it is almost like it's warning you. And there's also a replacement of the T-Rex head that came down before that, which is now the Indominus, which is a really fantastic animatronic. But then you get to the final drop scene, which there were leaked videos of, and you take leaked, or not leaked videos, there were leaked photos of, which you take photos with a grain of salt, especially leaked photos that shouldn't have been online to begin with. But there were leaked photos of the placement tests for the T-Rex and the Indominus. They were very rudimentary versions of their final animatronics, where they're almost jaw to jaw with each other as if they were engaged in combat. Well, the Indominus Rex now in the final drop just stays relatively in place as if it's idling in a B pose position or a B animation, where it's not doing what it looks like it's fully intended to do, while as the T-Rex still does a relatively similar animation to what it did in the original ride, where it peers out from this kind of veil of shadow to reveal itself, and it does the iconic roar. Now, it does appear that the Indominus Rex animatronic is meant to lurch forward towards the T-Rex, as if you look, the rock work on the left would obstruct your view well enough to you not being able to see that the Indominus animatronic would actually move forward. But a lot about the ride kind of gives it the feeling that that's what is supposed to happen, because you have Blue that's warning you, but why would Blue need to warn you if literally you can see the thing that Blue's warning you about from the get-go, unless it was supposed to be revealed. There's also some plant work that exists prior to the Indominus that shakes. There's a couple of instances in the POVs where the ride vehicles actually stop and the T-Rex goes through its entire A-cycle animation twice before the raft will actually go through the drop sequence and actually go to the drop. So you do get to see that these animatronics have a start and stop sequence, whereas the Indominus just kind of continuously goes through what, again, appears to be a B-cycle animation. So I do think that that's going to change. Eventually that Indominus will, the plants will move and the Indominus will reveal itself and lurch forward, and then the T-Rex in it will have the wonderful confrontation that we kind of think is going to happen based off the promotional images and, again, those leaked images. There was a reveal kind of documentary that they actually took down for some reason. I'm curious as to why, but I suspect it's because they said that they built the world's largest aquarium, even though it's just a screen. So I don't think you legally can say that without it appearing to be inaccurate or false advertisement. So that's my thoughts as to why they removed it. But you can see when they're building this beautiful animatronic of the Indominus that it's almost a full body figure. So there's no reason why it would just kind of be cowering in the corner unless all of it was already built. So again, looks like a really cool experience. This is soft, so normally things aren't 100% finished when softs start. I suspect that things are only going to get better from here, and I genuinely hope so, because it looks beautiful. The stuff that they've added is fantastic. I'll always be a fan of the original. I'll hold that close to my heart for forever, but for what this is, it's pretty good. We only get like one screen replacement for some animatronics, and the rest are actual animatronics, so it's looking good. That and the new Hagrid motorcycle coaster is a phenomenal experience. I know they've been having issues as far as just the track not working quite as well as they were hoping, the drop sequence being problematic, and just the capacity issue and the wait times are absolutely astronomically crazy. But the ride itself, if you just watch it for its POV experience and just if you have like a full through experience of the ride, it's phenomenal. And all the animatronics are absolutely beautiful in it, and the launch sequences just look thrilling. It looks like just a fantastic coaster altogether. And in fact, very much so is going to be the inspiration when we go into working on the Power Rangers coaster, where I do want it to be themed, but I do also want it to be a thrill ride more than anything else. So we are going to have parts of it, maybe a couple of themed indoor parts, but also have the majority of the track be outdoors. And as we're building these Zords, like this Pterodactyl Zord, there's going to be plenty of physical objects for this coaster to kind of wrap itself around, because we're kind of building the town of Angel Grove already. So to have a coaster exist in this space, we have the theming elements already there. We just might want to have a couple of character interaction moments, whether it's with Zordon and Alpha 5 or with Goldar and Rita Repulsa. There's a lot of things that I'm thinking about in my head as far as how I want this to work, but for now, I'm really happy with how this Pterodactyl Zord turned out. I wanted it to, again, look like something that could potentially fly, because there's a lot of the Zords in the franchise move very hysterically, especially the White Tiger Zord, and how like all of its legs move at once, but not in the way that a quadruped would move. The front legs jut out and the back legs jut out at the same time. So like all fours are like pushing out at the same time instead of, one after the other, like almost if you look at a freeze frame of almost like a gallop or a run of any quadruped. It's funny. So the flying Zords in particular never look like they would actually be able to fly. They're very boxy for the most part. And again, this is pretty boxy, but we have some pretty cool thrusters in the back, so I think we'll get away with it just a little bit. But it was fun using these geometric pieces, but also using some of the sci-fi pieces to give it some more texture, which was more what I wanted to give it than anything else. I didn't want to overcomplicate its design, but I definitely wanted to give it texture and make it look like a piece of technology more than just like a toy, which again is what I was pseudo basing it off of. And I was trying to find a good piece to work as the cockpit, because that was one of the things that I really enjoyed in the new Power Rangers movie, was that there was an obvious cockpit in all of the Zords where there wasn't one in the series. They just kind of existed inside the head somehow without any sort of viewport. which I thought was kind of cool that we actually saw that they were more vehicles than anything else. Now, I wasn't a fan of how the Megazord looked and how the cockpits were all like separated. That was a little silly to me. I really enjoyed when they were all, in one location together, which, makes them feel more like a team versus they're all in like their little mini pods from one another. So I don't know if we'll build the Megazord, seeing as we're doing all the Zords separately, but that doesn't mean there's other Zords we can't make, like the Dragon Zord. That would be a lot of fun. So yeah, we're actually coming close to the end of this build. Again, I'm really happy with how it turned out. We're adding a couple of lights to it, a couple of little last minute details. And man, we didn't even get to talk about Galaxy's Edge. I just went on and on about Jurassic World. I apologize for that. It's just something I really wanted to talk about because I was super excited for it. And it fits the theme of our park. This is the studio park after all. So happy to be back. We're going to have some more episodes of the studio theme park. We're going to have some more episodes of the Super Mario Park. And I'm going to start working on some more builds for the Banjo and Kazooie coaster, because that's another thing I haven't been able to talk about since I had to do all that crazy work, was Banjo Kazooie and Smash Brothers. Oh, it's like a dream that you never thought would come true, and then it does, and then you question if the reality is it real? Am I in the Matrix? Is the Matrix just trying to keep me plugged in the system by having Banjo-Kazooie and Smash? I'm not sure, but now I'm questioning it. Anywho, I'm rattling on at this point. Thank you all so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate it. And as always, I will chat with you on the next episode.